Every sect, every church, every religion needs to do is to explain what all of these books mean. And to have...
I don't think you need to explain what it means. If you read the teachings of Buddha, they're pretty clear. It's basically the right path for people, and it doesn't talk about killing people you don't like.
Yes.
That's simple. I'm not a Buddhist, but I mean, I can certainly appreciate the poetry of Buddhism. And I don't confuse Buddhism with pacifism, by the way. Let's not forget the history of Buddhism. It's filled with violence.
Well, yes, but what we need to do is to have every church and every sect have a corollary book that explains what all of these strange...
No, I don't want a corollary book. I want the statements that say kill a homosexual or kill an adulterer removed from the holy books. I want them purged from the books.
Okay.
That's all. I want it out. I want it out of these books. Now, it's not going to happen. You know, no one on earth is going to do that. But, you know, I throw a pebble into this quiet pond of thought, and this pebble has a way of creating rivulets that go throughout the nation and the world. I've been very lucky with that my whole life. But I think that this was God's will, my bringing this topic up today. That's what I personally believe.
You are the bravest man I have ever heard. You have trumped Alex Jones today, and that's all.
Well, that's saying a lot. His guy has great energy, and he's very bold, and he's very brave. That's true. But I don't want to make this into a thing of bravery or grandiose ideas here. The idea itself is what I'd like to talk about. What is wrong with expunging violence from holy books in the United States of America, Chris? Tell me what's wrong with that idea. Oh, he's gone. I'm sorry, I couldn't do that. A man also or a woman that divineth by a ghost or a familiar spirit shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. Leviticus 27. So that means they kill fortune tellers because the fortune tellers competed with the rabbis. It was bad for business. And they couldn't have any competition. So, what are you kidding? You're going to go see a rotten, stinking fortune teller with a filthy robe? No, this is God's way here. Stay here. No, I'm going to get a fortune teller. What, are you crazy? I'd kill him. A lot of it's just commercial competition. But a lot of it isn't. A lot of it's beautiful writing. You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Where'd that come from? Why do Orthodox Jews and Muslims wear such big beards? I realize hipsters do that as well, but let's put the hipsters aside. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. What does that mean? I don't see. Have a full beard or something. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, meaning when someone dies, you don't cut your skin, nor imprint any marks upon you. So they're against tattoos, the old Lenny Bruce joke. Well, Lenny Bruce came home with a tattoo on his shoulder, and he rolled his sleeve up, and his Aunt Minna saw him, and she screamed, "Oh, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery." So he said to his Aunt Minna, stop being so hysterical. When I'm dead, cut my arm off. Bury me in a Jewish cemetery and bury my arm in a Christian cemetery. That was one of the funniest things I ever heard in my life at the time. So he had a way of taking a very serious topic and making it funny. I can't do the same thing because I'm not a comedian. I have some comedic elements in my psyche, but I don't think this is a very funny topic. I'll be right back to see what you think right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Your Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust for tangible assets, gold and silver. Call 800-BUI-COIN. Right now, the world is going through an epidemic of hatred and violence not seen since Hitler espoused the evils of National Socialism. And it is coming primarily from the Muslim world, with hatred we've not seen since Hitler, where entire villages are decimated. They can justify kidnapping children, raping children as young as 8 years of age, killing boys who play soccer, killing boys who fly pigeons. And so I say, look, we in America have the right to stop this hatred from seeping into this nation. And we have to talk about expunging violence from the Quran. But immediately, as the words leave my lips, I know people are going to say, well, what about violence that we see in the Old Testament? That's another issue that has to be dealt with, and I've talked about it. Whoever changed his Islamic religion, then kill him, close quote. Bukhari 84:57. Those are the words of Muhammad. Just kill anybody who leaves the Islamic religion. That's really nice to teach, right? Quran 8:12, I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. Smite ye above their necks and smite all their fingertips off them. Well, one of them took it literally in Boston. Last night he tried to kill a cop with a big knife. Luckily for us, the cop blew his stupid brains out and sent him to the virgins in heaven that were waiting for him. What a religion. I don't understand that part of it. I just arrested 101 men for wanting to have sex with children under the age of 14 or 15. How do you have a religion that teaches men that when they die, they get 72 virgins? How in the world do you teach that? What is that teaching them? That that's okay? I ask the question. I can't answer it. I can't answer the question. I can only ask it. So violence in the holy books is the issue. Violence in Islam in particular. Violence, 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 hatred, murder. We can't tolerate it anymore. It's a disease. So let's take some of the callers. James on FNC Radio, fire away. What do you think?
Well, Dr. Savage, I agree with 99.9% of the things that you say, and I'm not so sure I don't agree with the theory of what you're thinking here, but I think it needs some editing, because in a free society, you can't just determine what you think is violence and let that go across.
I understand that, but I think anyone on earth can understand when it says that if a man lie with another man, it's abomination, they shall be stoned to death. There's nothing ambiguous about that, any more than there's anything ambiguous about saying if a woman committeth adultery, she shall be stoned to death and blood shall be upon your hands. How ambiguous is that, my friend?
Yeah, well, it's not ambiguous, but there's not a specific plan. It doesn't say that, okay, we'll meet on the bus this day to stone people on a regular basis and everybody show up with this many rocks of this many weight, and here's the pamphlets on how we're going to do it.
That's true. That would be political if they gave you a plan for that.
They tried this in court before. They tried it with Hugh Hefner. They tried it with heavy metal. They tried it with the ghetto rappers, and because the stuff in there was, shoot cops. It's the same thing. And even if you did this, it would only be banning it in America, not the rest of the world. But the fact,
right. I'm only focused on banning violence in holy books in America. I can't even think about the rest of the world. But we are supposed to be a light unto the nations. Unfortunately, we have a man who's they try to put the light out. I understand that. But we, the nation, are still burning with pride, irrespective of this creature in the White House who has tried to dim the light of this nation. But put him aside for the minute. He has nothing to do with this. He's not God Almighty. He's just a community organizer who never should have been made into the president. The fact is that we, the people, have a nation that has existed long before this character was foisted upon us, that will be here long after this character is gone from the White House, and we have to talk about what kind of nation we want to live in. So I'm saying, where are they getting these ideas from? Well, the Jews don't kill homosexuals. The Jews don't kill adulterers. The Jews don't kill astrologers. But Muslims do in these third world hellholes.
Well, there's some Jews that do, and there's some Christians that do, and there's some...
Whoa. Now, show me one example of a Jew who kills a homosexual. Where?
Well, I'm just saying that different people have their own individual ideas.
Yeah, I understand, but they understand that that's not a literal commandment to go kill gays. I don't know of any Jews who've done that in this world.
Well, I don't either, but I'm just using that as an example. And the thing about it...
Do you know that when a Muslim turns away from their religion, they can stone that person to death? And they do so, even in this country?
Remember Simon Rushdie?
Do you know that there are Muslims who kill their own daughters for not dating Muslim men? Are you aware that's going on in this country?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Well, what kind of nation permits this to go on? What kind of nation brings in this kind of hatred?
The hatred, you can't, I think, censor hatred. You can put them in jail for the rest of their life, or you can...
Yeah. After their 14-year-old daughter has been stoned to death in Michigan, then you could put him in jail, or he mutilates her body. No, I think that we as a nation have an obligation, never mind the right, to discuss these things. I'm almost out of time. This is a topic that can go on for days, and it will, because no one's ever suggested it in the history of talk radio. I broke new ground because God spoke to you through me today. Stay on the line. I want to send you the book that triggered it all. the book that triggered it all in a hotel lobby in Mississippi, Countdown to Mecca. The title alone scared Muslims, I am told. And I said I'm more frightened of their Quran than of my novel, which calls for the opposite of what the title allegedly says.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Now, what would the world be like without religion? It would be a world of emptiness, a world of soulless individuals like Bill Maher, Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, Barack Obama. A world of emptiness, a world that is vacuous of soul. So please don't confuse me with the government jesters and the socialists who hate religion and copy the Marxian dictate that religion is the opiate of the masses. I would argue that worship of the state is a greater opiate than is religion, because the worship of the state is worse, far worse, than worshiping God in terms of the crimes that have been committed against humanity by such worshipers of the state. But I'm talking about the problem we have right now with Muslims in America who are being brought in, many of whom are illiterate, except for a single book. They read nothing. They can't read. They're illiterate in English. They can read the Holy Book, which is about it, and they read it and read it and read it and read it. It's drummed into them. They come here, they look around, they see people not like themselves, and they hate you. Don't fool yourself. I keep hearing from Obama that we hate them. Have you looked in the eyes of the new visitors that he's bringing in? Have you looked in their eyes and seen love coming out of the eyes? Have you looked at the women in those burqas and seen love emanating from behind the slits? Well, let me know if you do. Send me a postcard about it. What are they being taught that they hate you so much? And if they hate the country so much, why are they coming here? They're coming here for the Benjamins, for the free welfare, for the free housing, for the free medical. They're coming here to spit on this country. But they're not alone. And so we as a people have an obligation to protect ourselves from such hatred. And one of the things we have to talk about is murder that is being taught to individuals through their holy books, whether it be the Quran or the Old Testament. And that's what we're talking about. It's that simple. It's a tough topic that your mother told you never to talk about, a topic that people in talk radio generally wouldn't talk about. It's easy to talk about Ronald Reagan and the founding fathers day in and day out. Go ahead, be my guest. But I think it's also important to talk about more universal topics than just politics. I myself am fed up with politics. And I think there's nothing more political, by the way, than religion, incidentally. And religion is behind most of politics in specifics. So murder is the issue. Murder in the Quran, murder in the Bible. The act of murder happens to be rampant in the Bible. There are laws that tell people to be killed for absurd reasons. You're gay, killed. Curse your parents, you're killed. Not being a virgin on your wedding night, killed. Work on the Sabbath, killed. Make fun of bald people, killed. I could see that one. Killing of a man who tried to keep the Ark of God from falling during transport, kill him. It's crazy. Just crazy. What kind of nonsense is this? Kill people who don't listen to priests. Kill witches. You should not let a sorceress live, Exodus 22:17. We know the kill homosexual thing. Kill fortune tellers, Leviticus 20:27. Whoever strikes his father or mother shall be put to death, Exodus 21:15. Death for cursing parents. If one curses his father or mother, his lamp will go out at the coming of darkness. All who curse their father or mother must be put to death. They are guilty of a capital offense. Death for adultery. If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, both the man and the woman must be put to death, Leviticus 20:10. Death for fornication. Death to followers of other religions. You go down the list, I mean, it's insanity. Onanism. You know what onanism is? Do you know that it's an antiquated phrase? Most of you never heard of the word onanism. Onan was a figure in the Old Testament who actually cast a seed upon the ground. I'll leave it at that without getting graphic. I'm not one of the sick comedians who has to be dirty and graphic to make my point. I can make my point. Onan was a man who cast a seed upon the ground. It was considered such a crime to God for a man to cast a seed upon the ground that God struck the entire village that Onan lived in and killed everybody. That's all. One guy read a Playboy and everyone died. Great. How's that for justice? So a lot of this has to be looked at in historic terms, in cultural terms, in literary terms, but most especially in religious terms. And that's what talk radio is at its best, which is talk, discuss, converse. You know what the word conversation means? It means with verse. So let's share some verse together and discuss this topic. I have such great callers. I think this is going to go on for days right now. I know it will. because I know many of you are thinking people.